Syria air strikes, U.S. still locked and loaded for new chemical attacks. President Donald Trump has warned Syria's government the U.S. is locked and loaded to strike again if it carries out chemical attacks. The warning came after the U.S., UK and France struck 3 Syrian sites in response to a suspected deadly chemical attack in the town of Douma a week ago. Syria denies any chemical use and says that attack was fabricated by rebels. A UN Security Council vote brought by Syria's ally, Russia, to condemn the US-led strikes was rejected. The wave of strikes represents the most significant attack against President Bashar al-Assad's government by Western powers in 7 years of Syria's civil war. While Western powers have supported rebels from early on in the war, they have not intervened directly against Syrian government forces. After the failure of the Russian motion, the US, UK and France circulated a new draft resolution to UN Security Council members, calling for an independent investigation into Syria's alleged use of chemical weapons, AFP news agency reported. Similar previous plans have been vetoed by Russia. UK Prime Minister Theresa May has blamed Russian obstruction for the need to launch military strikes, saying they left no practicable alternative. Isn't an investigation already underway? Inspectors from the Independent Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, OPCW, had already been dispatched to Damascus and they are expected to visit Douma this weekend. But the OPCW will not seek to establish, and publicly announce, who was responsible for the attack, which is what the UK, US and France want to see. The new, Western-drafted resolution calls for the OPCW to release their report within 30 days. Syria's Assistant Foreign Minister Ayman Suzan told the BBC his government welcomed the OPCW delegation. The work of the mission is in the interest of the Syrian state as it will uncover the lies, hypocrisy, and the misinformation of the sides which had promoted the alleged use of chemical weapons, he said. British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson told the BBC the strikes in Syria were meant to signal that enough is enough and their primary purpose is to say no to the use of barbaric chemical weapons. What happened at the UN? An emergency meeting was held by the UN Security Council on Saturday, leading to some bitter exchanges. Russia sought to secure a collective condemnation of the early morning air strikes. However, out of the 15-member council, only China and Bolivia voted in favor of the Russian resolution. Russia's UN envoy, Vasily Nebenzia, read out a quote from President Vladimir Putin accusing the US, UK and France of cynical disdain in acting without waiting for the OPCW's findings. U.S. envoy Nikki Haley said she had spoken to President Trump, and he said, if the Syrian regime uses this poisonous gas again, the United States is locked and loaded. She added, we cannot stand by and let Russia trash every international norm and allow use of chemical weapons to go unanswered. Syrian envoy Bashar Jafari called the US, UK and France liars, spoilers, and hypocrites who exploited the UN to pursue their policy of interference and colonialism. What is happening on the ground? CBS News reporter Seth Doane visited one of the targets in Damascus on Saturday afternoon, and found it to be a smoldering pile of rubble. The Barzeh complex is, according to the U.S., a center for development, production, and testing of chemical and biological weapons. Syria denies this. Elsewhere, the Syrian army announced on Saturday that the eastern Ghouta region, where Douma is situated, had been cleared of the last rebel fighters and was fully retaken.